Please welcome Susan Weinstock, Vice President, Financial Resilience Programming with AARP.
Hello, I'm Susan Weinstock, Vice President of Financial Resilience at AARP in Washington, D.C. AARP is an organization with 38 million members over age 50. About a third of our members are still working. And prior to the COVID pandemic, the number of older workers was expected to continue to grow as people live longer and live healthier. Some need to continue to work, others want to do so because it provides fulfillment and can be an antidote to social isolation. I want to start out this conversation about older workers and COVID-19 with a bit of grounding by way of AARP's survey research. I'm sure all of you depend on research to find out how you are going to determine creative vision for your brand. If consumers are hurting, that's going to affect how your brand shows up. Some of these numbers are pretty sobering, but it's important to understand what people are experiencing in these unprecedented times. We've done a couple of rounds of surveys of those age 50 and older. I'm just going to focus on two waves that we've done, April 29th to May 1st, when we surveyed 1,151 older adults, and May 13th through 15th, when we interviewed 1,024 older adults. In the most recent survey, 41% of respondents were working, 41% were retired, and 3% were looking for work. So in response to the question about whether people are concerned about coronavirus, we found that of those aged 50 to 59, 80% were concerned, 42% very concerned, and 38% somewhat concerned. For age 60 to 69, 92% were concerned, with 54% very concerned and 38% somewhat concerned. And for age 70 and over, 92% were concerned, with 63% very concerned and 29% somewhat concerned. So as you can see, and not surprising, the intensity of the concern increases with age, which of course makes perfect sense. We also asked about following health guidelines around COVID-19. For those aged 50 to 59, 82% said that they are following the health guidelines. 46% said that they were doing so all of the time. 36% said most of the time. For age 60 to 69, 93% said they are following health guidelines, 50% all of the time, and 43% most of the time. Age 70 and over, 93% are following guidelines, 58% all the time, and 35% most of the time. We also asked about their employment and their financial situation. We asked whether the age 50 and over are worried about losing income from gig work or side work because of the coronavirus. And we mentioned things like Uber or Airbnb. Of those age 50 to 59, 23% were worried, 10% very worried, and 13% somewhat worried. For age 60 to 69, 14% were worried, 5% very worried, and 9% somewhat worried. And for age 70 and over, 9% were worried, 4% very worried, and 5% somewhat worried. Then we asked about whether they were worried about losing their job or being furloughed, and we got the following results. For age 50 to 59, 43% were worried, 17% were very worried, and 26% were somewhat worried. For age 60 to 69, 23% were worried overall, 9% were very worried, and 14% were somewhat worried. And then for the age 70 plus, 16% were worried overall, 7% very worried, and 9% were somewhat worried. And then with regard to whether people had lost income because of COVID-19, 30% of all respondents said they had lost income. And that breaks out age-wise to 32% of those aged 50 to 59 had lost income, 32% of those aged 60 to 69, and 13% of those aged 70 and over. Then we asked about whether they have had to go to work and put themselves at the risk of exposure because of coronavirus. 20% of all respondents said yes to this question, with 19% saying yes of those aged 50 to 59, 23% for those aged 60 to 69, and 9% for those aged 70 plus. And then 16% overall said that they had lost their jobs or their work had been suspended. For age 50 to 59, in April, that number was 13%. In May, 17% had lost their jobs. So that number went up. For age 60 to 69, in April and May, the number was the same. 13% had lost their jobs. And for age 70 plus, in April, actually, the sample size was too small to measure, but in May, 23% had lost their jobs or had their work suspended. Finally, in May, 32% of respondents said that their income had not been affected at all by COVID. And to break that down, this gets interesting because the numbers do change for April and May. For age 50 to 59 in April, 39% said that their income had not been affected, and then that went down to 30% in May. For age 60 to 69 in April, that number was 42% were unaffected and 37% were unaffected in May. And for the age 70 plus, 34% were unaffected. So now that I've painted a picture, let's talk about what older workers can do during this time. First, we strongly suggest that if you've lost your job or your hours have been reduced and your income is down, this is a great time to take a course online, to learn something new, to develop a new skill, or to reinforce a skill you already have. There are a lot of providers offering free online content right now and courses, so take a look at enrolling for a class to try it out. Then once you've taken that course or you've done a full credential, put this on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile. This demonstrates to employers that you're a lifelong learner and someone who wants to take on new challenges. And then I can't stress more the importance of networking. You've got to network. I know obviously you can't meet in person for coffee at this time, but take a look at your contacts on social media. Are there people out there you'd like to connect with? Now is a great time to reach out to people who know people and see if you can connect on Zoom or email or even via text to learn more about what they do. Most people get their jobs through networking, so keep building that network even though you're stuck at home, and you've got to nurture it all the time. Also, take a look at your LinkedIn profile. Is it up to date? Does it represent you at your very best? Fill in as much information as you can. The more you fill in, the higher up you're going to be. You're going to appear in the search results. And now let's talk a little bit about your resume and how you can age-proof it. I mean, you all are creative folks, and so you know the importance of a visual and of a brand. Your resume, obviously, and your LinkedIn profile, those are your brands. So every resume that you submit needs to be tailored to the job posting that you're applying for. Build one generic resume and then tailor each one. I know it's a lot of work, but your resume is not going to make it through the applicant tracking system so that an actual human can see it unless the keywords in the resume match the keywords in the posting. And take out your graduation dates. They're completely unnecessary. No need to give away your age if you don't have to. And make sure you have an up-to-date email address. Don't use Hotmail or AOL. That just looks old. Get a Gmail account. That's current. We've also been working with employers about bringing employees back to work. We need to make sure that they are doing this very thoughtfully and very deliberately. That means looking at how they will ensure social distancing and staggering work schedules, and even thinking about deep cleaning their workspaces. And finally, let me just say that we don't want COVID-19 to become a way for employers to discriminate on the basis of age, but of course under the guise of protecting against COVID. The CDC guidelines talk about, the vulnerable being those over the age of 65. But they need the employers need to think about their workers and the diversity of their workforce. Of course, race, ethnicity, and gender are all extremely important to ensure that you have a diverse and inclusive workforce. But how about age as well? Products and services that are built for a mass market will do better if the people behind those products are diverse as well. I'm going to stop there, and I'm happy to take your questions. So thank you very much.
Hi, and welcome. I'm so glad to join you all here today and answer any questions you may have. So let me start just by giving a little top line analysis of the data that I shared, because it was a lot there. And if you want to go on our website and find that data, it's on the part of our research. So if you go to aarp.org/research, you can find it there. It basically shows that between April and May, and this is not surprising, things have gotten worse for workers. And we know for older workers, we know on that data, but we know even more generally that certainly things have gotten worse. I don't think I have to tell anyone that. Older workers are losing their jobs. And what we're concerned about is that older workers, when they lose that job, it takes them almost double the time to find a new job as it does a younger worker. That's the findings from research that we did during the Great Recession. And then the other problem is that a lot of our older workers, they never recovered from the Great Recession. So they're still trying to build that retirement nest egg and all of the things that they need to do in order to retire. And so working longer, whether they wanted to or needed to, was a possibility. And we certainly don't want to see COVID shut that down. And that's something that we're very concerned about. The amount of folks who are now working from home, about a third of people are working remotely, which is great. But it's always a concern of how we're going to bring people back, make sure they're safe, and things like that. So another question is my husband's company suspended his 401k match. Any recommendations on financial options to consider in lieu of suspended payment benefits to maintain progress towards retirement? That's a great question. If you don't have an IRA, maybe this is the time to open one. So think about doing something like that. One of the things I would say, if you're working remotely right now, you're probably saving money on your commute. Maybe you're even saving money on your clothes and all sorts of things. So take a look at that money and put it away. Put it away for retirement, put it away. If you don't have an emergency savings account, now is a great time to build that emergency savings account and use that money that you are currently saving that you would normally be spending on commuting by bus or metro or car, parking, all of those expenses, and put it away for an emergency, because we've now seen that an emergency can happen through no fault of your own in a matter of a month. And all of a sudden now you're earning less than you were before, or you're just in a deeper financial shape than you were before. And so it's a tough time. But keep going with that retirement funding as much as you possibly can. It's really important. Time is the great asset that you have when you're saving for retirement. So starting young, the power of compound interest is amazing. So keep that going as much as you can. So an IRA is a great way to look at that. So go online. There's lots of providers that offer IRAs, and you can start one, I think, pretty easily. So I would give that a shot. Another question is should companies invest energy on training the hiring managers to address biases instead of training the applicants to hide their age? Yes, absolutely. And we work with companies. AARP has an employer pledge program. In our pledge program, we have over 1,000 companies that have signed the pledge. And the pledge says that you as a company value older workers, you value a multi-generational workforce, and you hire based on ability regardless of age. This is not a heavy lift because it's the law, but we think it's really important that this is a public affirmation. And we have, as I said, over 1,000 companies, large companies, who have all said that they do support that. So when they show up on our job board, there's a nice little logo that they have that shows that they value older workers. And we continue to educate them and employers in general. We do a lot of employer outreach about the value of older workers. Pre the pandemic, I have to say, we heard a lot from employers looking for older workers, because what older workers bring to the workforce is soft skills that you gain from being in the workforce for a long time. Things like that you are empathetic, that you listen, that you problem solve, that you are calm under pressure, all very important, wonderful traits to have as a worker. And so employers know that if they have an older worker, they'll likely have those traits, and they'll be able to count on them through any sort of situation. So I would play that stuff up. As I said, we continue to educate employers, and we're going to continue to do so, about the value of older workers. We don't want COVID-19 to be the excuse for age discrimination to run rampant, because all of a sudden now employers are saying, oh, I don't want any of my 65-year-old and older workers anymore because they might have COVID and they might be vulnerable. That the nuance of that is much more important. It's about pre-existing conditions like diabetes, heart conditions, lung conditions. We want everybody to be able to work for as long as they want or need to. Another question: with your focus on an age-diverse workforce, or a focus on removing age from LinkedIn, what do you think about the awards for 30 under 30 legacy awards? I've never been a fan. That's just my personal opinion. I think, we need to celebrate what people do no matter what age they are. And so just the idea that just because you're under 30, you've done something, that's great. But if you're over 60 and you've done something, that's great too. So let's be inclusive of things like that rather than exclusive. Let's not just focus on age as a bottom line for whether or not someone should get an award. Let's see. Other questions coming in? Anybody has? I can continue to talk about our work. We also, our employer pledge program, is an opportunity for us to talk about multi-generational workforce and how important a multi-generational workforce is. And we know from research done actually in Germany on an auto assembly plant where one of the car makers actually built on purpose a multi-generational team on the assembly line to test how it would go. And what they found is absenteeism went way down. Problems or mistakes went to zero, and productivity went up. So we know that a multi-generational team is very valuable in productivity. We also know older workers bring high levels of engagement. That means they're not going to walk out the door. That means you're not going to have to replace them. So that is also really, really important to keeping your workforce stable and keeping your workforce working. The other thing is if you are offering a product or a service that you are pushing out to a mass market, you want to make sure that the team that's building that product or service is diverse. And diversity doesn't just mean, of course, gender diversity, extremely important, race, extremely important, ethnicity, extremely important, sexual orientation, also very important, but also age. PricewaterhouseCoopers did a survey a number of years ago, and they found that only 8% of CEOs included age in their diversity and inclusion efforts. And we want to make that a much higher number. We want age to always be included when looking at diversity and inclusion. I think a lot of you probably know that, Silicon Valley is renowned for not valuing age. Mark Zuckerberg is famous for a quote saying, that younger people are just smarter. Well, obviously, we at AARP don't agree with that statement. We think older workers bring so much to the workforce, and multi-generational workforces in particular are really, really important. Another question that's come in, with your focus on an age-diverse workforce or a focus on removing age from LinkedIn. Oh, no, this is about the legacy awards. Yeah, I think we're good to go. If you go to aarp.org/job loss, you'll see a lot of work we've done to support workers if they've lost income or lost a job because of COVID-19. It's been great to be a part of this conference, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. And I thank you so very much for letting me be part of it. So take care.